Good afternoon, everyone. All right, we'll let everyone come in and get settled, and then we'll start here in just about 2 minutes. That way, everybody. It's really nice here in Richmond. It's warm enough to have the doors open and the windows open. Perfect with a hoodie. So I'm enjoying the weather, and I hope you guys are having similar weather that you are able to enjoy. All right, if you guys want to say hello in the chat box and let us know what organization you are from, that always helps with our attendance efforts in this digital format. All right, and I am recording this. Just I know there were some supervisors that really wanted to join the call that were unable to do so. So for the sake of time, let's go ahead and get started. I think I've met most of you, but there are a few of you that are new to the AmeriCorps program. So I want to say welcome officially. It's always nice to put a face or a name, a part of a conversation with your email, and you guys that are doing an amazing job all throughout the state with AmeriCorps. So I am Jessica McKinley, and I'm excited to be here in the shared space with you today. I just wanted to spend a few minutes.
Why are you guys always so creepy?
I wanted to spend a few minutes just going over progress of AmeriCorps so far, right? We started a new grant year September 1st, and it's really been all uphill from there. You guys are doing wonderful jobs. We have more AmeriCorps members on board right now than we've ever had at this time of the year. So I just wanted to touch base with each of you, make sure that you guys all understood your alignment, enroll within the AmeriCorps program, and then also offer any support or tools or resources that we can offer to make sure that you guys have what you need to implement the program. So looking at today's agenda, we will start with small group discussions just for a quick warm up and a way to say hello. I am not a fan of getting on a Zoom training, no matter how quick it is, without an opportunity to say hello and just kind of unwind for a minute. So we're going to spend just a few minutes doing a quick warm up and a way to say hello to fellow AmeriCorps supervisors. We will discuss a few aspects of what it means to be an AmeriCorps supervisor, and then we'll assess the roles and responsibilities as a supervisor to wrap up our afternoon together. So if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to drop them in chat or come off of mic. I'm always happy to hear from you, and I want to make sure that we are able to navigate our space and time together this afternoon. So don't be afraid to interrupt me. Any questions or needs before I dive right in and get started? All right. So as I mentioned, we're going to kick off our time together just in small groups. I'd like to invite you to spend a few moments reviewing the next two slides as I pull them up on our screens. And the two slides that you will read are direct quotes from your AmeriCorps members from the 21-22 program year. So when you go into your small groups, I want you to take a statement or two from the list that we are about to read. And I want you to contribute something to that, make a note of any trends, any needs, but I really just want you to get in your small group and conversate just briefly about the next two slides. So let's start here. I'm not going to read them word for word, but I will give you a minute to read your slides now. I appreciated how committed everyone was to providing quality care for the kids we serve. Additionally, my supervisors were very good about checking in with staff, myself included, regarding stress and potential burnout. I also appreciated that I had a lot to say of how my schedule looked and how And I liked that there was a focus on positive reinforcement and professional growth. So now let's go to this one. Spend a moment reading the following statements. As an AmeriCorps member, I was left out of many different meetings and trainings, which would have been helpful for me. Communication could have been better. So keeping those two slides in mind, I'm going to put you guys in breakout groups just for 6 minutes, briefly. And I want you to spend a few moments thinking about what you just read and how maybe your program contributes to that, or maybe some ideas or suggestions to prevent some of what you were reading, or highlighting some of the good things that you guys are doing. So I'm going to create just a few random breakout rooms. Like I said, just spend a few minutes talking, and then we'll come back together in 6 minutes. But please make sure that you use your time wisely and participate. That way you can enhance your group's shared learning experience. So if there aren't any questions, groups are opening up now, and I will see you in 6 minutes. All right, welcome back. I hope you were able to spend a moment saying hello to your fellow rock stars. You guys are a great group of individuals, and I don't feel like we get together often enough to share the great ideas and talk about the things that you guys are doing at your each club. So, or at each of your clubs. So would anybody like to spend just a moment either chatting, putting in chat, letting me know what was discussed within your guys' group? What were some of those common themes that you were seeing?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead. I know I just brought up to my group because I was with Amy and Nathan, and I just touched base with them. Something that was passed along to our site a while back was kind of like just a little appreciation thing, which we do with all of our staff, and we include AmeriCorps. And this came through the Boys and Girls Club grapevine, so to say. So I can't take credit for it, but it's I don't know if anybody else has seen these, the True Blue little tickets, and you can put your staff's name on them. You sign them, and then you can write on the back like why you're giving it to them, and it's just giving them little call outs. And then we write all of our staff that we give one to. Every time they get one at the end of the month, we put their name on a small ticket in a drawing, and then we give out incentives for things like that. So like, again, I can't take credit for these. They're pretty cool, but they did come through at some point from someone in the BGC world. But our staff really respond to them well, and we include our AmeriCorps in that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think for us, a lot of us were just saying like some of us are a little bit newer, and so far we're having a really great experience with it. I had mentioned that at our organization, I wasn't the direct supervisor of all of our AmeriCorps people, but I am now. So just making sure that, with all the other deadlines and things that I have to hit, that I'm still making sure that I'm on track with those. So just getting into that routine. Natasha had a really great idea that she does one-on-one check-ins with our AmeriCorps weekly. We're sharing a very tiny office, like there's like 4 of us in here. So most of it, I get to see them on a daily basis, but doing that more individual one-on-one, I think would be really beneficial. So shout out Natasha.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody else has any good ideas or things that you would like to share, feel free to utilize the chat. But you're exactly right, Ashley. There are a lot of new faces to the AmeriCorps supervisor role, right? So some of you have been doing it for a long time. So I welcome you and invite you to speak up if there's any feedback to give at any given time. But that's really what I hope by the end of our conversation in 30 minutes from now, that you guys will feel a little more prepared for what is required out of our supervisors as we continue to navigate the AmeriCorps grant year, and then just have the opportunity to ask any questions as we go along. So keeping in mind, we are working with our third-party evaluator now. We will have a review of what AmeriCorps looked like last year in an evaluative format here very soon. I just pulled some of those comments through some of our end of the year exit surveys that we asked members to complete. So there's a lot of good feedback. There was a lot of room for improvement. There was a lot of great ideas. So I'll be happy to share that information with you as it becomes available. But for, again, the next 30 minutes, I just want to go over really what an AmeriCorps supervisor looks like and what your role and responsibility is. So this shouldn't be anything brand new, whether you got it, the information from the summit that we did in person or through Dropbox. All of this information has been made hopefully available to you, and you have that resource. There is a really handy AmeriCorps manual that I'm going to reference quite often throughout our presentation. If you are not familiar with the AmeriCorps Supervisor Manual, it is on Dropbox. It was the handout, or it was like a bound notebook that we gave out at the summit that was spiral bound. So you should have it. Supervisors have a supervisor handbook, and then members have the member handbook, which is a really good go-to for anything. But regarding all things AmeriCorps as a supervisor, you can really just pull up your handbook, and it will guide you to disciplinary action, monthly reports, training requirements, and things like that. So as we navigate today, I have some a slide deck to share with you guys, but definitely refer back to that program manual for you as well, because all of the information is laid out there. So as a supervisor, really bringing onboarding, recruiting AmeriCorps members, onboarding, but then being able to provide support for the member throughout their term of service, making sure that they are meeting all of their requirements as a member, and then submitting your in-kind reports and your monthly reports is really the gist of a supervisor, right? I say that's really all there is to it. I know you guys are all doing multiple things, and AmeriCorps is not your main role. So I really try to make it as simple and straightforward as we can. But if you have any ideas or rooms for improvement, definitely let me know if something else makes sense or something works better. So as we navigate here, the application and onboarding changed this year, right? So we did, we modified everything to DocuSign. So how did you like the digitalization of the application and onboarding documents? Do you guys feel like that works out really well this year? Anyone want to speak on that?
I thought it did, because I was already a supervisor when we were doing the paper, and I actually thought it was at first, but I thought it just kind of helped keep everything together. And then like Alana was able to, communicate directly with the member versus everything kind of being with me. And I just thought it was like a smooth sailing process and just kind of kept everything going.
Good, good. Any other feedback?
I agree with Natasha. I like that some of it was put back onto the member. I think that's important for them to get more responsibility and understand that, this is priority to them, that this is important, and they should have a say and be directly involved in the decisions.
Sure, sure. And I'm open for any negative feedback too. We too think it's fantastic. As you know, it's kind of split. Wanda does half, and then it comes over to me, and I'm doing the other half. And our back and forth, I mean, we're not printing and scanning and emailing, and payroll's easier. I mean, it is so much easier on our end. So we are definitely excited about the direction we're going. We are going to do all of our midterm and end of the year paperwork also through DocuSign, unless you guys feel like there's a reason not to do so. I do have paper exit forms because sometimes it's, you're terminating that member, and it's just best to have them fill out that exit form right there. So we still have the exit forms on paper if need be, but Otherwise, everything will be communicated through midterm performance reviews, and end of the year will come through DocuSign to you and the member, just like the application and the onboarding did. So look out for that. That's how we want to do that. But we know that, you know, there's a process, right? It's not just like, hey, you're an AmeriCorps member, here, Lon, at the end, period. It's all gravy. There are a lot of different moving parts. So we are glad that doing everything digitally kind of helps with the onboarding process. And you're right, it helps the member understand the process and put a lot of it back on the member. But we know it is a process. And if you know, Jessica, you know, I love that visual aid. So we really put together that visual chart of what onboarding looks like. This has been emailed out to all of you, but it's the same as the document, the welcome letter that you guys have floating around, but it's just broken down into a flow chart. Just reminding you guys that there are very particular steps that have to be followed prior to bringing a member on board. It happens, and I know it happens, and there's sometimes I'm guilty of saying, well, you know, we do things the Boys and Girls Club way as well, and I get that, but we just got to remember to make sure the member is completely onboarded before we have them serving hours and what they think will be receiving pay from AmeriCorps, because a lot of times I don't think it's transmitted or communicated properly, and I find that there's some communication on members getting paid when they shouldn't be, or you know, just kind of some strange situations. So if you ever are bringing on a member, just make sure that you are following the onboarding steps, which have been outlined here. And then remember that once it comes to me, I will always do the contract through DocuSign, but a member never is actually starting their term of service until I send out that welcome email saying, thanks, we've completed all the necessary steps. This is your official start date, because the contract may say 11/1, but Jessica was a little slow at signing it and didn't sign it until 11/4. Therefore, her start date actually isn't until she signs the contract. So paying attention to your member's official start date is extremely important, because that's the date that they'll be able to start logging hours and Encore that they were enrolled in e-grants and that type of thing. So paying attention to that date is very important. And then making note of all the different steps that come in that welcome email. It's the same welcome email. I don't modify it. So I know you supervisors, often it's like, oh, there's that email again. I know what it says, but make sure that members understand that those links are really important. That's how they access their program manual. You can join the Facebook group there to communicate with others. But the training policy, where all those trainings are that I keep telling members about, there's a training policy here that outlines exactly what members are required to do. I've been getting a lot of emails from members that are saying that they need to pay for trainings, and that's because they're not following the training policy with the proper steps. So I think there's some confusion there too. So when you receive this welcome email, and knowing your member received it as well, really spend time to make sure that they stop and digest all the information that is included in there. I've added a spot about ADP because members are needing to access their timesheets, but as soon as we enroll them, they get that email access from ADP, but a lot of times we're just ignoring it because they don't know to look for it. So a lot of that's been added to orientation. And orientation only works if the member's downloading the video. So there's that PowerPoint that shows up on Dropbox when they click on orientation. But unless they're downloading that PowerPoint, the videos that are embedded in the Dropbox don't play. So it's just kind of a dry PowerPoint. So make sure, I mean, maybe just download it to a computer at the club. That way they always have access to it. But again, orientation doesn't work unless it's downloaded in PowerPoint, and then they can actually play the videos that are embedded throughout that. So any questions about onboarding? I know, like, we've tried to streamline it. Everything's digital. This is that email again talking about how they always receive access to ADP. So make sure that they are looking out for that. But as far as onboarding goes, I want to stop and answer any questions that might have shown up in chat, but to also invite any new questions that you guys have regarding the onboarding of AmeriCorps members. Yeah, Maddie, I agree. We've actually worked with DocuSign, and I think there is a way to text members certain things, and that's something that is on our to-do list. I don't know if it's possible, but it's something that we are considering. So I'll keep you up to date on that process. All right, so that welcome email, it talks about your training requirements as that training catalog. All members are required to maintain a training percent of 12 to 20%. So that percentage can fluctuate throughout their term as needed. However, the monthly reports that supervisors are completing should show that members are on track to meet those percentages in accordance with the total number of hours in their service term. All programs are responsible for training of their members throughout their term of service. And we recommend that training of members be done both individual and in a group basis, right? There's a lot of benefit to learning from your peers and group settings, but just like you've seen and just like you've maybe discussed in your small groups, there's also a lot of benefit from members getting one-on-one training from their supervisor, from a community partner, from a third-party source. So just keep that in mind. It's the responsibility of the host site to make sure that AmeriCorps members are receiving orientation, right? So we do the AmeriCorps orientation, but do AmeriCorps members know how to log in when they click in? Do they know who to, the dress code? Do they know who their direct supervisor is? When we're doing a lot of the end of the year surveys, it's almost shocking to see that they never even really met their supervisor, or they weren't really sure, what their schedule was. So just make sure that you're communicating that with members. And just remember that we have professional development dollars for both supervisors and AmeriCorps members throughout their term of service. So if they need to become CPR, first aid certified, and that's just very minimal. Think broadly. Professional development training looks different for everybody, for supervisors, for members, but there are dollars available. So if there are any requests for any trainings, any certifications, things like that for your members or for yourself in that supervisor role, make sure you communicate that with me and we'll make sure something happens. But making sure that members are familiar with that training log, because those 60 days, that 60-day training requirement is in effect. So this year, everything's digital, again, trying to streamline. So AmeriCorps members, this is part of their orientation. They receive the access to this. And if they click on these links, it's going to take them exactly to the trainings that they're required to complete. So it's pretty easy. We tried to make it pretty easy for members. But a lot of times they're like, oh, I don't know how to log in. But again, in that training log, it tells them what their username is. It's extremely straightforward. If you start navigating and it's not as straightforward as I think it is, let me know. I'd be more than happy to make it work, whatever makes sense. But if they're following that training log, all of these should be pretty easy for members to accomplish. But just make sure that there are ample opportunities for your members to participate in meaningful professional development opportunities. Invite them to staff members. Remember that professional development and training is part of their service. So making sure that when you're completing their weekly schedule, you're including time for them to do their reporting and their training requirements and things like that. But the training log is required every month. Members submit their training log every month, just like they do with their monthly report. So that's a pretty straightforward process. But if you have any questions about the training log, definitely let me know. In that training catalog, we make it here as they're, as a 1,700-hour member, a member can have up to 340 hours in training. That's pretty heavy. So we encourage you to really think creative. Don't just have members complete training because it's what they're required to do. Remember that AmeriCorps is really focused on that employability and job readiness. So if a member is, able to get certified in, digital art or, DEI or something like that, allow us to help that member find personal growth within those training hours that are required from them. So that is part of what AmeriCorps is. And that is part of why it should be so attractive to your members that are applying for an AmeriCorps position, because it does have that flexibility and that opportunity for professional development growth. And then here I'm saying that we even have the dollars to support that professional development growth, but work with members and understand what that looks like with them, and then make sure that they are on track to complete those training hours according to the grid you see here on your screen. We partner with ULEAD. Every year, members love them. Staff throughout the state love them. AmeriCorps, we require AmeriCorps members to attend our ULEAD sessions to the best of their ability. We know that some people have class and some schedules aren't accommodating. We've always done 11 a.m. This year, you can see there on the screen that we're actually going to try a 1 to 2:30 approach and try to do it all in 1 week versus one Tuesday every week for the month of May or what have you. So we're trying a couple different approaches this year. So we encourage you, your staff, AmeriCorps members, other people. It doesn't just have to be AmeriCorps. The more on the call, the more fun it is. If you're not familiar with ULEAD, they're really engaging and fun. It's not just sitting there listening to Jessica talk. It's actually a fun and exciting time to be together with others. So registration went out to all your AmeriCorps members. So you might want to check in and see, hey, have you registered? Make sure that they are, are aware of that training opportunity. I've heard from some of the members that they're not able to attend, and that too is completely okay. I am going to drop registration for that in chat if you want to copy it and send it off to your staff or what have you. The first link for registration was just dropped into chat, so you have that. It is the Power of Play, and that was there laid out on your screen, so I'm sure you've read it. But with AmeriCorps, again, they're required to do this training, right? So the CYC certification program is the most rigorous demonstration of competence in the field. CYC certification allows practitioners to demonstrate their development as professionals and participate in true career development. So when you say that, it is exactly what AmeriCorps is doing, right? So AmeriCorps members are required to do how many hours? Like, 204 to 12 hours in training they're required to do. So it just makes sense to align them with their CYC certification, right? So in my head, how many of you are CYC certified or are working on certification? Say hi in chat, say hello. I'm sure there's a good group of you. I know there are a good group of you. I see you. But if we are requiring AmeriCorps members to do so many hours in training, why not align it to when they're done with their training, they also can have CYC certification? So at minimal, they'll have the entry level, right? So all AmeriCorps members, by the time they're done with their AmeriCorps service, they have received 12 hours in training. They have 2 references, and then they take the exam, and then they leave their AmeriCorps term of service as a certified youth care professional, right? So that's what we're working on now. We have classes coming up. I've been working with AmeriCorps members. There's about 20 of you, your members right now that I'm working with on either getting them to certification because they already have all the requirements that they need and they just need help, processing certification, or coming in January, we're launching a 12-hour OST certification class, to where when you start on January 9th, by January 26th, you have everything you need. You have your application done and certification complete, within a month. Because what we've been doing is working with Spillett University. So if you are onboarding AmeriCorps members or other staff, they're doing onboarding through Spillett, through bgca.net. So we've just been aligning those competencies. So again, if you're just doing your original onboarding through Spillett, by the time you're done with your onboarding, you should be able to have all the alignments for CYC certification. So behind the scenes, we're working on that to get more BGCA professionals certified. But as I think through the lens of AmeriCorps, again, we're requiring them to do all these training hours. So why not make it a little more meaningful and a little more, appealing when you're recruiting AmeriCorps members, that they can leave with that CYC certification as well. Oh, I can talk. Any questions regarding training or what is required from training? Okay, I get it. All right, I think I just put the link in for registration for certification. If you're members yourself, anybody in the Boys and Girls Club movement, there are dollars through the Alliance that is paying for certification, for renewal, for the foundation course, whatever you may need for certification. But just know that members keep getting information about this. You guys probably see the emails getting information about this as well, but highly encourage those members, especially those in the full-time 1,700, 900 hour roles, because they have so many hours they need to do already. Why not align it with a certification that will further their employability skills? So more information will come about that. But for the sake of time, supervisor reporting, what you see on your screen here is the monthly report. In order to, it's screenshots of the monthly report. It comes in a Word document. Now, in order to collect the performance measures, we require supervisors and members to complete monthly reports. Members will always complete their monthly report via SurveyMonkey, and supervisors have gone back to the paper Word document that you will actually fill out and email back to me. This is an opportunity for you to check on your members' progress on service hours and training hours, make sure they're aligning to complete on time, and if not, creating a plan to do so. We also ask that you spend a few moments recapping members' initiatives and accomplishments. AmeriCorps is a grant. We are required to complete our performance reviews, our performance measures, and the way we collect that is through the monthly reports that you and your members submit. So we collect those strategic initiatives, which strategic initiatives are the means through which an organization translates its goals and visions into practice. So I've had some questions about the strategic initiatives section of the monthly report. And just keep in mind, how are you doing translating the goals and vision of Boys and Girls Club and or AmeriCorps into creating impact through youth engagement or volunteer or through your public school? So don't overthink that question, but spend some time making sure that you provide some thoughtful information, because it's really neat to see what members are accomplishing throughout the state. When I send out timesheet reminders to members, I always say, hey, supervisors, don't forget to submit your in-kind hours. On the 1st and 16th of every month, members and supervisors are required to submit their timesheets or their in-kind hour report. AmeriCorps is a program that is federally funded. Part of the grant requirements outline that we provide an in-kind dollar match. We do this in multiple ways, but the most important way we do this is by tracking your time as an AmeriCorps supervisor. You're not paid by the AmeriCorps program to be a supervisor, so the time you spent as a supervisor is documented as our match. So it's important that your in-kind reports and timesheets are submitted timely. I think most of you are doing a great job submitting your timesheets, but just remember, anytime you're approving member timesheets, you should also be submitting your in-kind report. I have here where it just shows that you can go through the time tracking, you can approve your member timesheets that way. You should be getting emails saying, hey, Amy, don't forget, Jessica just submitted her timesheet. If you're not getting those emails, let me know. Maybe your email's wrong in the system. We'll get that corrected, but you should be getting notified anytime a member is getting or submitting a timesheet for approval. Make sure that they're completing the description codes in the description box prior to you approving them. And then make sure that they are tracking their training hours in the training boxes, and then education or triple play in the correct boxes. And then there's always the opportunity to approve the timesheet or to reject the timesheet. But as a gentle reminder, if you are rejecting the timesheet, you have to include a reason why. That way the member knows how to correct their mistakes. So those are timesheets. I always send out emails reminding you when timesheets are due, though. So I try really hard to make sure that you guys are aware of that. Here you'll see just a quick snapshot of the many ways a supervisor should be tracking and supporting AmeriCorps members' development and progress. As a reminder, our goal of the AmeriCorps program is to provide that job readiness and employability skills to those serving AmeriCorps. We use email for all of our communication needs. I heard you or saw it in the comments earlier. AmeriCorps members just don't check their emails regularly. And I know that they have their phone in their hand, so just tell them to make sure that they turn those notifications on or whatever's necessary, because we do communicate a lot through email. So if we ever need anything, that is how we do communicate. So make sure that members have some kind of system to check email regularly to know what is needed of them. And we know that there are times when a member may need to complete their term of service early. I just wanted to spend a few minutes, as you see on your screen, there's a couple options. So in my example, the member is supposed to complete their term of service on July 22nd. They completed their 300 hours by July 1st. So now there are a couple different options. So once a member completes their term of service, they can continue to serve at least 5 hours of pay period to continue to receive whatever living allowance is left for them to receive based on their contract. So if this kiddo was ending on July 22nd, his last pay would have been July 30th. So he still has another living allowance owed to him, but if he completes his hours early, he still has to serve at least 5 hours to continue to receive that living allowance, because if he receives a living allowance deposit, we have to have a timesheet to document that payment. So, or what could happen, a lot of times members are like, oh, I'm going back home for the holidays. My contract's done December 30th, but I'm leaving December 14th. We'll just have a plan to finish a couple of those training hours or professional development hours or exit forms, whatever, for their last week. As long as they put something on that last timesheet, just because their end date says December 30th, that pay period is December 15th to December 30th. So as long as they serve at least one day in that time frame, then they're fine. So don't get too hung up on member exits. Always communicate if they need to end early and later than necessary. There are some options, but just don't send me and say, oh, the member exit or the member's done, they completed their hours early, because then it just gets tricky in trying to get them the remainder of the living allowance and things like that. So just communicate. Again, the monthly report should hold you accountable to being able to recognize when a member is off track or is not able to complete their term of service. Here in the member monthly reports, this is the biggest ask I ask of you guys. When members are submitting their monthly reports, make sure that they know what data they are submitting, because that is how we are tracking our performance measures. And so before a member submits their monthly report, they should be working with somebody to identify how many kids were enrolled in Indiana Kids, how many kids improved, how many kids were received a healthy snack. Those numbers are so vital. So as you can see here, on this side of the screen, there's a Word document every month. Make sure you're completing that with members. And then when they go to complete their monthly report, they'll know exactly what data to enter, because they've met with you and they have that data. That is, again, how we can track our performance measures. So it's really important to make sure that's unduplicated and that you guys have measures to track that. We can talk later if you have any questions regarding the monthly report, but just make sure there's a plan in place for members to understand what they're doing. Performance reviews, extremely important. Again, as you saw, as what your members were saying, and we opened up our conversation, members want feedback. They want to know what they're doing well. They want to know what they're not doing so well on. Many members felt like they were thrown into their role without direction or feedback. Mentoring is the best thing we can do for our AmeriCorps members, and it's free. It costs nothing. So just make sure that you're spending time meeting with members. Members have that communication plan in place. And anytime a performance review is due, I will send it to you via DocuSign telling you it's time to do, that it's due. On your screen here, I'll make sure that you guys receive a copy of the slide deck here. But you see, I mean, this AmeriCorps is working. Members are gaining leadership skills. They're taking higher positions. They're changing their direction because of what AmeriCorps is doing. So I know it's like, don't forget your timesheet, don't forget this, but remember that all of this is being done for a purpose, and you guys really are shaping your AmeriCorps members into being really phenomenal leaders of the future. So there was a study done, again, I will make sure this hands out, but alumni feel like they can contribute. They're learning how to give back to their community. They're wanting to stick around. They're wanting to serve youth. And that's really that hope for adding the CYC credentialing to that, is because it's great. They're great employees, but how do we keep them in the field of youth work, whatever that is? Because, we all have that same goal to provide optimal child development. And if we can keep these rock star AmeriCorps members in the field through certification, through AmeriCorps benefits, then we're doing a great job. So with that, I'm going to leave you, letting you know that there are steps to handling member performance issues. Remember that it is a 3-step policy. You have to we say, think about 3 strikes, you're out. You cannot just terminate a member because you're having a bad day or the member is making you mad. You have to communicate those issues with members, employability, teaching them those job readiness skills. If Jessica's late every day, make sure you're communicating that, write that up, because you can't just say, okay, well, you've been late 8 times now you're done. Make sure you're communicating those issues. That way, if there's something that does persist and you need to terminate a member, you have documentation showing that you've tried to take those steps and teach that member proper job and employability skills. But also know that if you need to terminate a member at any point for immediate reasons, anything that, needs to be addressed immediately, let me know. We can always work on that. The Member and Supervisor Assistance Program, I try to advertise that as much as I can and provide that during orientation. As a reminder, members, supervisors, and all immediate household members have access to the Member Assistance Program throughout the AmeriCorps grant year. And it is free mental health, legal, and financial resources, life coaching. It's a really neat program. On this slide, it tells you that you just have to download the app and use the code ASC. We don't get any feedback. They tell us that we had last year, I think we had like 27 members that used it, but we don't get names. We don't know who took advantage of what program. Just know that that is a program available for your members, for you, for your household members. I will make sure I send out follow-up information to make sure everybody has access to that. Some of you showed up to our Serve Indiana mini conference that was held last week in Indianapolis, hosted by our funder. It was a great day of learning. I didn't get pictures of everybody, so I'm sorry, but you'll see Natasha and Nicole is here. I think we have Kaylee here from Crawford County, but there was and Ashley, there was like 5 or 6 different organizations represented in. So that was a really neat opportunity. Oh, I'm talking a lot. And with that, I'll leave you. We did put out our save the date today for our Indiana All Staff Summit that we hosted at McCormick Creek State Park this last August. We've actually reserved the whole inn and we have our dates on the calendar. So just mark those dates on your calendar. I'll send it out in an email as well. But that is our all staff conference where we will do our next AmeriCorps in-person staff development training. But again, that is August of next year. We have plenty of time before then, but I know I like to get things on the calendar sooner rather than later. So I wanted to leave you with that. Whew. Any questions? Because I know that we are a little past our time and I want to make sure that I don't hold you guys hostage, but I want to make sure that you guys feel equipped and have the information and the resources that you need to continue to navigate the AmeriCorps year, because we have 100, I counted this morning, there's 116 AmeriCorps members that have been brought on board since September 1st, which is just mind-blowing. Last year we had 146 AmeriCorps members total. And so this year we already have almost 120, 2.5 months into the program. It's exhausting. I know you guys are exhausted. It was a big rush to do that. But we did it and we're 110 strong. So you guys should definitely take a moment and celebrate that and be proud of where we are with the AmeriCorps program now. But also feel free to speak up if we need to go in a different direction or if you have any feedback or comments.
Jessica, I do have a question and like a statement too. So first, I just want to say thank you because as a supervisor, you guys make this really easy for us. So I just want to say thank you because I think if we didn't have you and Lana like always emailing us or just even just emailing fast back to like a question, I don't think it would be the same. So just thank you so much for that. And my second question is that when it comes to the CYC, we aren't too late. So I know I was emailing you about it. I haven't had a chance to like go back through and like do everything, but then I did see that I talked about May. So we're not behind if we haven't gotten on that yet, right?
Nope. There are funds through IYSA right now. And then we wrote funds into our 3E grant that we are just now kicking off. So this will continue for the next year. So whether it's you, your AmeriCorps member, somebody else within your organization, part of our 3E employability grant, we said we'd get like 200 people certified in the CYC. So we're shooting high, right? So it's not just it is anybody within the organization, whether it's just renewal or certification or taking the class because you feel like you need the skills to certify, whatever the exam fee, whatever that is. No, we'll cover it probably through the end. I would say at least through the end of the 2023 calendar year. I would feel confident saying.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
I have a question on the in-kind hours. Should I be submitting in-kind hours or no?
You will not be. Because you submit the timesheet the other way, you will not submit in-kind hours, Lisa.
Okay, thank you.
As a reminder, I know it was up on the screen. I think December 9th or something along those lines was the last day. If you were bringing on 9-month members, remember that 9-month deadline is about a month away. So after 9-month members, we can still bring on 6-month members, 4-month members, 3-month members, but that 9-month window gap is approaching in the next 30 days. So if you want to bring a member on for 9 months, now's the time to do so. All right, well, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share and turn the recording off. But if there are no other questions,